Ride hard, ride safe, but ride smart, and always wear a motorcycle helmet when you're riding a motorcycle.
So if you're in a crash and injured while riding your motorcycle, where do you get help? What can you do? What are your rights? So we're going to find out the answers to those questions and more right now, because that's what we're going to ask the lawyer on this episode. Hi again, everybody. I'm Rob Rosenthal with AskTheLawyers.com, and my guest is Calgary lawyer Steve Grover. I want to remind you right at the front, if you'd like to ask Steve questions of your own, just go to AskTheLawyers.com, click the button up in the upper right-hand corner that says Ask a Lawyer, and it'll walk you right through the very simple process there. Or you can just call the phone number that will be on the screen during our conversation. Steve, good to see you. Thank you for helping us out and answer our questions.
Hi, Rob. Nice to see you.
So let's start with just a little background. Tell us a little bit of your background with, helping bikers who have been injured throughout your career. I know you're an avid biker yourself, correct?
Yeah, Rob, I've been riding motorcycle my whole life, ever since I was about 5 years old. Starting with dirt bikes, then moving up to street bikes, and as I get older, more into the cruisers, and now into the adventure riding. So it's a passion of mine. I enjoy riding. I enjoy getting out, enjoying the fresh air, and seeing new sights. Riding in Canada, America, and down to South America, and I've even ridden through Asia at one time.
Wow. And so was it important to you then to have that part of your practice, that you help bikers who've been injured?
Yeah, I always think it's really important to give back to the community that you support. There's a lot of injured riders out there that have been injured in an accident, unfortunately, not due to their negligence. And, our office is pretty active in the community, supporting riding groups, supporting motorcycle shops in Alberta, and just any individual riders, being out there and making sure everyone's riding safe.
It seems like these days, Stephen, maybe you've had a lot more experience than I have, but it seems like sometimes people just automatically assume the biker was at fault. There's an accident, there's injuries. They automatically assume the biker is at fault. Is that something you've seen, and is that sometimes difficult to overcome?
That's the perception socially. I know sometimes there are socially, people making judgments of who's right and who's wrong. Unfortunately, the biking community does sometimes have a negative stereotype out there, given the Hells Angels, the Banditos, motorcycle groups. Unfortunately, if someone's involved in a motorcycle accident, they probably think, the motorcyclist was going too fast, he wasn't paying attention, and, they're at fault for the accident, which is not, majority of the cases. It's usually, especially up here in Canada, where we do have limited summers, essentially the riding season is from April until the end of October. People aren't used to seeing motorcyclists on the road, especially here in Calgary. Obviously, with the winters here in Canada, riding's not all year round. And, when riders get on the street in April and May, drivers need to be aware that, they're sharing the road with motorcyclists on top of other vehicles like cars or 18-wheeler trucks on the road too.
Do you find that it helps you with these cases, gives you an advantage, having all that experience yourself as far as a rider, so you know some of the situations that they may be in?
Yeah, I think it's a huge advantage. Obviously, understanding the rules of road, riding a motorcycle, what to look out for, what's the most common motorcycle accident involving a car and a motorcyclist. Obviously riding a motorcycle is completely different than driving a car. Here in, Alberta, you need a Class 6 motorcycle license to ride a motorcycle. Obviously, if you're just driving a car, you just need a Class 5. There's a lot of training that goes involved in riding a motorcycle. You have to get your Class 6 motorcycle license in Alberta to ride. And obviously there's different kind of gear you have to wear: helmets, jackets, boots, gloves. So I think it's a huge advantage that myself and my firm have. When an injured rider comes into our office, we understand the scenario that he or she may be in the accident. There may be some bias against he or she by the police or the general public, and maybe they're at fault for the accident. So I think that's a huge advantage our firm has over other injury firms in Alberta.
It makes sense. What if a biker thinks maybe they are partially at fault for an accident? How does that work in Canada? Even if they do, in your estimation, they end up being partially at fault. Does that change things?
Yeah, it does change things. It's a good question, Rob. In Alberta, we have a contributory negligence, looking at faults. So say that the rider of the motorcycle is 50% at fault. He or she won't, recover full damages, but they will recover 50% of other damages based on that. So, we have to investigate the accident to make sure he or she's not at fault for the accident. If they are a percentage at fault, that is reduced on their damage award that they get either through settlement or through a judgment at trial here in Alberta.
Now, there is a helmet law in Canada, right? If someone's injured and they weren't wearing a helmet, how does that affect their claim?
Yeah, across Canada, fortunately, we do have our government that's passed law in every jurisdiction, every province and territory in Canada, mandating that, if you're riding a motorcycle in Canada, you have to wear a helmet. I know in the United States, the law little changes. One of the states that borders Alberta is Idaho. Once you cross from Alberta into Idaho, I know you can take off your helmet and ride a motorcycle without a helmet. I don't encourage people to ride without a helmet. Obviously, the most important part of your body is your head, your brain. But unfortunately, if you're riding a motorcycle and not wearing a helmet and you do suffer a concussion or a brain injury, that is a factor that will be taken into consideration in the legal system, especially the court system, in determining how much your case is worth. I've seen sometimes where, someone suffers from severe brain injury in a motorcycle accident without wearing a helmet, and they've been hit with 75% contributory for causing their brain injury. But the facts are the facts. But I do encourage everyone, ride hard, ride safe, but ride smart, and always wear a motorcycle helmet when you're riding a motorcycle.
What if someone's injured in a motorcycle collision and they think, let's say they're not at fault, but they go, well, I can probably handle this without an attorney. Is that a good idea, and why not?
I don't think it's a good idea. Number one, people think, okay, I'm going to save some money. The standard fee here in Alberta is 30% or 33% of the settlement proceeds goes to the lawyer that represents the person in the accident. We spend time and money to develop your case. We're experts in this field. Obviously, I'll give you an example. My dad was a general surgeon. If you had an appendix problem, I trust you wouldn't just go home and, pull out a butter knife and cut your appendix out. You'd probably go to him, go through the healthcare system. Obviously, we work for free. It doesn't cost you anything to retain us. We pay for all the experts and the investigation reports. Those are part of the disbursements we incur, and that money comes back to us on top of the settlement. So I think it's a huge advantage for a client to have a lawyer. Number two, the other issue is the insurance companies, if they know they're at fault for the accident, they want to minimize their risk. They don't want to pay as much as what you're entitled to. And the law in Canada is based essentially is if you're injured in an accident, you're entitled to be put in the same position you were before the accident, health-wise and monetary-wise, for loss of income. So it's a huge advantage to have a lawyer, someone that's an expert in the field, that will spend the time and money to develop your case properly. And you're up against a big insurance company. They have all the resources in the world. So my advice is it's sort of like David and Goliath. If you want to be David and take Goliath on your own, good luck. But, if you want to retain a firm like us that specializes in personal injury, specializes in motorcycle accident, our interest is to take care of our clients first and develop the case properly.
Really, really helpful information, Steve. Thank you so much for making some time to help us out and answer our questions. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Rob, for your time, and thanks for the questions. Have a great day.
That's going to take care of this episode of Ask the Lawyer. My guest has been Calgary lawyer Steve Grover. I remind you again, if you'd like to ask Steve questions about your situation, go to askthelawyer.com. Click the button at the top that says Ask a Lawyer, and it'll walk you right through the process. Doesn't cost you anything to ask questions, or you can call the phone number that was on the screen during our conversation. Thanks for watching. I'm Rob Rosenthal with Ask the Lawyers.